and welcome. Welcome to our 7th annual Candlelight Vigil of Hope and Remembrance. I'm always humbled when I stand up here today and I look out at the crowd. It's really amazing to see the community come out. This place holds over 700 people, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of how many are actually here. So thank you for joining us tonight. We wholeheartedly welcome you here. Some of you may know me. My name is Lindsay, and this is my 3rd year emceeing the vigil. I have no idea how I was able to fall into such a role and how I was nominated to take on this task, but I am forever grateful for the opportunity to stand in front of you. I promise it's not something I take lightly, to stand here and speak in honor of your loved ones and in honor of you. I'm homegrown here in Rockland, born and raised. I went to school here, my family is here, and no matter where I end up in life, Rockland is my home. And these will always be my people. So each year as I prepare, I'm always trying to think of the right words, right? The right words to fully articulate our sorrow and our pain as a community, and more importantly, our hope. And though I wish I had those words of wisdom, something that's life-changing, I realize that I don't. My mom is always telling me, Lindsay, you can't save everyone. She's right. I want to, but she's right. I can't. We can't. But as a community, we can't stop. We can't stop fighting this disease. I know sometimes it feels like we're moving heavy boulders up really steep mountains. That's how I feel. Sometimes I'm really tired and I'm drained. And there's this constant negativity, like a bug in our ear that won't go away, trying to tell us we're wrong. Those people telling us we're wrong for supporting a solution to this disease. And honestly, sometimes it feels like it would just be easier to stop fighting. But when people ask me why I keep doing what I'm doing and how I keep doing it, I think, why wouldn't I? Right? Like, how could I not? These are our people. This is our community. Sure, I'm angry and frustrated. I'm sad. I'm sad we're losing all of these incredible people. It's not fair, right? We still needed them. We still need them. But they are our reason. They're the reason I continue getting up each morning and try to continue tirelessly, inch by little inch, to continue moving that boulder. My cousin Paul passed away a few years ago from substance use disorder, addiction. And just a couple of weeks ago, his father, my uncle, saw a post that I shared on social media about Paul and my work with Rockland CARES. He called me and he said, I wish I could be as strong as you. You're doing the work that I can't. What he doesn't realize, though, is that he can do the work, and he is. He helps end the stigma every time he tells Paul's story. He's as much a part of this fight as I am. As we often say, it takes a village. All of you being here tonight is helping that boulder move further. You being here tonight, all of us being here tonight, is giving those a voice who can no longer speak. It's giving families hope who may otherwise feel hopeless. It's giving those still battling some comfort when they so often feel alone. I strongly believe that when we gather tonight to light our candles of hope, that all of the people we've lost will be standing right beside us, holding their candles too. They are with us. They're with us each time we tell their story and give them a voice. They're with us when we knock down those naysayers and push through the negativity. They're with us when we're tired and we're weary and not sure we can continue on. And they're here tonight as we light our candles in honor of those still struggling, in honor of the families grieving, and in memory of those lost. I'm sure of it. Their candles will be shining bright tonight beside us. I just want to leave you with this tonight, that maybe if you feel like you can't do the work or you're just struggling to find your place in this fight, how can you help? What can you do? And maybe you can't speak to a crowd or attend a meeting, but there's one thing that each of us is capable of doing. I encourage you tonight, and when you leave here tonight, to simply love fully. Love fully and with all of your heart. And not just when love is obvious and surrounding you, but particularly take notice when love is absent. That's when it's needed the most. Because the person to your left or the person in front of you, they may be tired and weary, and that might be the light that they need. So thank you for being here tonight and being our village. Thank you. And to start us off tonight, we have a lot of wonderful, inspiring speakers, and we have some beautiful music. But to start us off, I would like to welcome Father Hickey from Holy Family, please, up to lead us in opening prayer.
That was wonderful, wasn't it? A few weeks ago, I was coming out of my car. That's how you pronounce it. And saw this guy, and he was there. So I talked, and he started talking about the crisis of people overdosing. And I said, I know a lot about it. And I mentioned that I had just done that week a funeral mass for somebody. And he mentioned the man's name. This fellow may be here, I don't know, but he began to badmouth the deceased. And I got angry. I said, don't talk to me. I have nothing to do with you. Well, I didn't really mean that. I said, yeah, you did. You're like a lot of people. You take his inventory. There's an old saying, if you're going to speak about the dead, praise them. So I was impressed by Lindsay's exposition, her thought. So we're here to pray for them, pray for their families. And I think I need to say out loud and clear that that's about God. And that you, every one of you and I, we need God in our lives. And if we go to him and stay asking him, he will help us. He always does. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, somebody say, Amen. Lord God, we praise you and thank you. We do that through your Son, Jesus. We ask tonight that you bless everybody in the room, whatever crisis each one here may be in, or whatever worry or fear is going on, or what might be the thing that's bothering them about tomorrow. We ask in the name of Jesus that you just pour out your Spirit on people, that you give them the gift of hope and the chance to make it, in the sense that they're not alone, and that there's a deep reality of our trusting in you that you will get us through, that our souls are in your hands, and that whatever is going on, you are aware of it and take care of it, and you will not let us go. Help us to take a step of faith. Bless us through your Son, Jesus. And for all those whom we've lost, eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace, and may their souls and all the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Let someone say amen. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Our first speaker of the night is from Rockland, and he stood at the podium at our second annual vigil to tell his story of recovery. 5 years later, he is back, still in recovery, and even working as a recovery specialist to help others. Please join me in welcoming Brian Huntress.
Long walk to the microphone. The whole time I was sitting there and she was introducing me, I was just mentally preparing for when I would trip up the stairs and fall on the stage in front of everybody. But I made it. A round of applause for good balance. Now, I guess to start, my name is Brian Huntress. I'm a grateful, recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I grew up in this town. Right on Union Street. I feel like just the community around me, the people I know, the people I don't know who also live here, I just feel a certain connection with. Just based off of community alone, I feel like I've seen it all from, the South Shore Eagles at Rockland Ice Rink, collecting my many participation trophies, to the Shakespeare Festival in Rockland, to the 7-Eleven payphone at 4 a.m. wondering how I got there. I have a cheat sheet right here with all of my quips written down. I'm not that spontaneous. But I guess it started off, there was a time, so I grew up in a really great home. Both my parents were married. I had an amazing network of cousins, aunts, and uncles around me, and nothing but support on all sides. But I guess there was always this kind of part of me, just somewhere within me, kind of lurking in the back of my head every time someone told me good job or that they loved me, that there was just something wrong with me, or that I wasn't good enough, or that, every time I talked to somebody, I kind of just felt like in the back of my head they were humoring me or making fun of me or something, and that carried with me. And sometimes, I'll admit, sometimes that returns to me, even as an adult. But I believe that kind of starve for acceptance in community and friendship is what led me into, at the age of 11 or 12, I was a big skateboarder. I was one of the kids, raising hell behind Ocean State Job Lot or in the center of town. That was me. And basically, I found myself with some people that I thought I found support in, that I, kind of found a friendship in, a connection in. And, I guess coincidentally, these kids were the same ones that, stole their mother's cigarettes and raided the liquor cabinet or the medicine cabinet or what have you. And I guess, I don't know, I feel like one way or another, it would have ended up that way anyway. But I started off, and I won't get too much into war stories, but the first time I had a drink, the first time I got high, it was like that feeling of just impending doom and anxiety and fear just left me in an instant, and it was like magic. That's the really bad part about drugs and alcohol, is that they worked. You know what I mean? There was this quick fix on getting rid of this pain in my core that I couldn't get rid of. And there it was, the first time I got high, the first time I drank, it went away. And obviously this sent me on a huge spiral. Fast forward, I'm surrounded by people that I think are like these like ride or die, would do anything for me, have my back at all times, were the same people, you know, that were in the shadows, you know, when I got robbed, or were the same people, you know, that ditched me when something went wrong, or when I passed out on the sidewalk uptown. And I just, you know, I didn't have friends, and the only people that still truly supported me were my own blood, my family, who I was betraying, who I was stealing from, who I was torturing, who I put through hell all because they wanted to love me. And my mother and father, you know, I used to think they were, you know, constantly on my case, following me around, banging on apartment doors, you know what I mean? And it drove me crazy, you know what I mean? It was like I just wanted to live my life and be free, be independent, you know. And I thought that living like that and being that kind of person meant that I was becoming my own man, that I was being an adult, but really the only thing I was doing was copping out. I was leaving people behind, and when they looked at me in the eye and told me that I hurt them, or told me they were in pain, or told me that I am forfeiting my accountability as a family member, I turned my back. Every time I was confronted with some kind of emotion or some kind of reality, I turned away, right away. And I continued like this for a long time, and I guess just to speed it up a little bit, spoiler alert, I crashed and burned really bad. I got taken out of my own living room and my own home by the very brave Rockland police, and I was put, thank God, not in the back of a police car, but in the back of an ambulance, and I was brought to Brockton Hospital, where the next day I was put in the adolescent facility at Brockton High Point called the CASEL program, which, you know, maybe there's some people in here who have been there before, or maybe some people who have visited there or worked there, I don't know. But if you're not familiar with it, for a long time it was a program of 13 to 18-year-olds who were struggling. It was a stabilization unit for kids struggling with addiction. Now they changed the age ranges. It's still got the same basic format, but I spent 25 days in there. And for the first 2 weeks, I didn't want to be there. You know, I was actively trying to get kicked out. I was, you know, biting the hand that was trying to pick me up off the ground. And I guess there was just a lot that led up to a few moments where something clicked in my head, where just for a quick second I decided to listen, and I heard some things from very, very generous people, some very compassionate people that were coming into this program and speaking to me and telling me their story and how they started, what happened to them, where they ended up, and how they got out. And that was something pretty unfamiliar to me. And I can't tell you that I promised that I would get better forever, or that I would stop using, that I would stop drinking, that everything would be peaceful and happy and rainbows when I got out of that program, but I guess I just agreed to try. And I left that program. I did many things. I enrolled in a school called Independence Academy, which is a recovery high school. And after being kicked out of two before that, I left here, actually, Rockland High School. Then I ended up in Independence. But due to some unfortunate circumstances, by my own misbehavior, I ended up back at Rockland High School. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I was a very, very, very miserable, hurtful, and sad person. And the only way that I knew how to deal with it, the only solution that I thought existed, was filling my body with substances, was drinking until I couldn't feel anymore, was copping out of anything remotely related to reality or real life, and I left it all behind. But still, there were good people like all of you. There were parents like all of you. There were family members in my life, there were people in my community, like counselors, teachers, all these people that at the time it didn't make sense to me, but they would not give up on me. They kept pushing, they kept talking to me, they kept welcoming me, they kept feeding me, they kept supporting me, and no matter how many times I threw it in their face, they kept going. And I'll tell you what, that's the only reason that I can stand up here today and I can tell my story and I can continue a pattern of healing that was extended to me. And I'm not a person with all these answers. I don't consider myself some kind of savior. Everything I tell you guys tonight, everything I tell another alcoholic or an addict is something someone passed on to me. Something someone told me in my moments of weakness, in my moments of pain, in my moments of misery that led me to have the opportunity to recover. And though some days I take 5 steps ahead, take 2 back. Some days I take all 5 back. You know, some days I really screw up. The mistakes don't go away. Real life doesn't stop. I have a job. I have a really out of shape car. You know, it's real life. You know, I'm a real person. You know what I mean? Like I can think and speak to people and go places and be a human being, and it's a beautiful thing. I don't consider myself to live some extraordinary life, you know? But what that support got me was the ability to live life on life's terms. And I tell you what, I am almost always in these settings speaking to people who are in the same boat as me, speaking to people who are in recovery or trying to be in recovery or what have you, but to speak to a group of people who may or may not be addicts, who are families, community members that have become casualties of this epidemic, that have been hurt and put in pain by this horrible problem our community is suffering, and to speak to people kind of on the outside is a blessing that I never knew I would have. And for people like you guys to gather in a space like this and to put on an event like this and to show up and to support and to care and to take action is the reason that many people from this day forward and days to come are going to get better. And as many people are passing away, as many people whose demons are bigger than them, as many people who don't make it out, it is a great tragedy. It is horrible. And it's something that I wish I could change. But as many of those people as I've seen go out, beautiful people, there are still so many that are getting better. And I'm not exempt. Anything could happen to me. My life could take a turn tomorrow that I don't see coming at all. But today, and just for today, I can stand up here and I can tell you that through generous people, through support, and through close work with other people suffering the same thing as me, I was able to get better. And I was given the tools to keep that rolling. I guess that's all I'll say for now, but thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you. Up next, we have our first song of the night. If you've been to our vigils in the past, you may be familiar with the beautiful voice of Jennifer Kirby. This is her 4th year joining us to share her gift on this special night, and we are so grateful for that. So please join me in welcoming Jennifer Kirby.
All right, just take me a second to get my stuff together. I just want to say thank you for having me again, and thank you so much. I never tire of hearing people's recovery stories. How could anyone get tired of that? I'm so blessed to be able to listen and that you're doing well. just looking up here. All right, well, the mic works. I don't know about the guitar, but that's okay. This is a song called Lessons Learned, and to me, it's just about forgiving yourself your mistakes. It's by Carrie Underwood. There's some things that I regret, some words I wish had gone unsaid, some stars that had some better endings, but some bad times I've been through, damage I cannot undo. Some things I wish I could do all over again, but it don't really matter. Life gets that much harder, it makes you that much stronger. Some pages turn, bridges burn, but there were lessons learned. And every tear that had to fall from my eye, and every day I wonder how I'd get through the night. From every change life has thrown me, and I'm thankful for every break in my heart. I'm grateful for every scar. Some pages turn, bridges burn, but there were lessons learned. There's mistakes that I have made, some chances I just threw away, some roads I never should have taken, been some signs I didn't see, and hearts that I hurt needlessly, some wounds I wish I could have one more chance to mend, but it don't make no difference. The past can be rewritten. You get the life you're given. Oh, some pages turn, bridges burn, but there were lessons learned. And every tear that had to fall from my eye, and every day I wondered how I'd get through the night. And every change life has thrown me, I'm thankful for every break in my heart. I'm grateful for every scar. Some pages turn, bridges burn, but there were lessons learned. And all the things that break you, or all the things that make you strong, you can change the past, 'cause it's gone. You just gotta move on. From every tear that had to fall from my eye, and every day I wondered how I'd get through the night. And every change life has thrown me, I'm thankful for every break in my heart. I'm grateful for every scar. Some pages turn, bridges burn, but there were lessons learned. Some pages turn, bridges burn, but there were lessons learned. Oh, lessons learned. Thank you.
What did I tell you? Beautiful, right? Our next speaker is a young woman, also from Rockland. She has privately shared some of her touching words with Rockland CARES in private in the past, and we are so glad that she will be sharing her story with all of you tonight. So please give a warm welcome to this brave young woman, Kayla Boudry.
I wish I could get up here and just talk like everybody else, but that's not me. Me getting up here is big enough. But thank you very much. My name's Kayla Boudry. I'm 20 years old. I was born and raised in this town. I'd like to take the time to thank Rockland CARES for giving me this opportunity to stand in front of you and share my family story. I'd like to start off by saying that sometimes love isn't enough. Growing up, I'd always believed that love was the solution to everything. Nothing could ever be that bad when you're surrounded by people who love you. Unfortunately, that isn't always the case. When you grow up in such a loving, understanding family, it's hard to feel like you're alone. When all else failed, you knew that love always remained, but some people didn't have the luxury I have when it comes to being surrounded with such love. Family has always come before everything, and love has always picked me up when I was down. Although, love doesn't save everyone. May 1st, 2016, my family lost a son, a father, a brother, a grandson, a nephew, a cousin, and a friend, Richard Smith, to an addiction that was ruled by fentanyl. When I say that he was a heroin addict, most people jump to conclusions, whether those conclusions are about my cousin himself or the way that my family was raised. There's always an assumption. Richard was one of the most loving, generous, outgoing, and confident people I knew. He was dedicated to his family, especially his daughter. He never missed a family gathering, no matter what it was for. Typically, when someone turns to drugs, something about them changes. Not always, but typically. I can stand in front of you today and tell you truly that that wasn't the case with my cousin. He was always the loving father, son, brother, cousin, grandson, nephew, and friend we all knew and loved dearly. Despite his demons, his heart was always full and his mind was always open, and that is one of the many reasons that my family struggles so much with his loss, even still today. He would give you his last dollar if it meant helping somebody that he loved. It was, and always will be, an honor to call him my cousin. My family had a lot of love and support, as we knew he struggled for a really long time, although you can't force someone to get sober, as much as we really wanted him to. When my cousin passed away, my family dealt with an overwhelming amount of grief. On top of the grief, we dealt with a lot of guilt. We didn't understand what was going on. We get questioned, why didn't we get him help sooner? Why didn't we see the signs? All these questions circled my family like a bug you just couldn't seem to kill. Although we questioned why it happened, we were all too familiar with the answer. You don't wake up one day and want to become a drug addict, and my family knew that. My family never wanted to be the family who had another story to tell. My cousin was never meant to be another statistic. To the world, it might just be another number, another statistic, or another man who did it to himself. However, to my family, we lost a piece of our heart that day. To my Auntie Laurie, who has to live with the loss of her son, Richard loved and respected you more than words, and that's something that no one could ever take away from you. To my grandmother, I promise that as long as I live, Richard's story will always remain in the spotlight in hopes of helping other families. There truly is nothing like losing somebody you love. My family never imagined this happening, even knowing he struggled for many years. And at the end of the day, even if we could answer all the questions, it didn't really matter. I believe God has a plan for everybody, and that was his plan for my cousin. My family loved Richard more than I could ever put into words. If he was still here today, he would tell you that himself. In fact, I wish more than anything, Richard was the one up here telling you about a success story. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. There was no possible way my family could have loved him any more than we did, And as a family member of a heroin addict, all you can really do is provide the utmost love and support through their struggle. It's just a matter of who's saved and who's not. Unfortunately, my cousin wasn't one of the lucky ones. I grew up thinking that love could get you out of any rough patch you're in, and it wasn't until I was 18 that I learned this wasn't the case. Love isn't the cure for everything, and that's okay. Loving someone the way my family loves each other, and the way that we loved Richard, is such a beautiful, surreal feeling. My family still lives with that little bit of guilt and regret, and I know that feeling will probably always linger. But if there's two things that love can't do, it's bring people back or save them when they can't even save themselves. My family would like everyone to know that we are here to provide support to those who are struggling and those who have lost. And I would like to thank you again for this opportunity, for letting me stand up here and share my family's story. And thank you all for your attention.
Stories like Richard's are helping end the stigma. Thank you, Kayla. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to take a few minutes and adjust this. Just take a few minutes of your time and talk to you a little bit about us, what we do, who our partners are, and just talk about some common misconceptions. And then we'll get back to why you're here, the music and our wonderful speakers. So first off, though I stand up here tonight in front of all of you, I am only one person representing an entire group of people. We are Rockland CARES. We are a group of community members where police officers, teachers, parents, concerned friends. Our mission is to provide support, prevention, and education to those affected in some way by substance use disorder, addiction. We have been in place for just about 7 years now, around the time of our first vigil. And through the years, we've really grown. We partner with the schools, the police department, business owners, community members, working together to get the message out there. We all volunteer our time, meeting about twice a month, sometimes more, to try to combat this epidemic in our community. It's a lot of work, but it's really worthy work. And I am proud to say that after 7 years, we just became an official nonprofit organization. We're moving that boulder. I'm so proud to stand up here tonight to represent such a dedicated group of people. And we always welcome new people. Come and find me, find anybody in one of these shirts. It doesn't require an application process, or you don't have to pass a test or anything like that. It's people of all ages, from even all communities that just care. So, and as I said, we have many partners. We couldn't do it alone. Just a few of our key partners are listed right on the program that you have. Rockland Public Schools, special thank you to them for tonight. Brockton Area Opioid Abuse Prevention Collaborative, BAMSI, Webster Rehabilitation. They actually host us for free every one of our meetings. Holy Family Church, WRPS, Learn to Cope, High Point Treatment Center, Walgreens, Plymouth County District Attorney, and all of the volunteers. There are so many to be listed that I can't include everybody, individuals, business owners, police department, everyone that makes the work in continuing our mission possible. So thank you. And thank you to our resource tables who have set up a table tonight, so check them out. And then while I have your attention, I would just quickly like to talk a little bit more about naloxone and some common overdose misconceptions. So first off, what is naloxone? It's more commonly known as Narcan, and it reverses an opioid overdose until an individual receives medical attention. Some of you are probably familiar with it, but if you're like me, you've probably never heard of it. I had never heard the word Narcan until I joined Rockland CARES, but it is a lifesaver, period. It saves lives. You can contact different CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid locations to get Narcan. The CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid right here in Rockland can help you. And then a couple of months ago, a recovery specialist actually came in to speak with us, and they trained us how to use Narcan and taught us about some common misconceptions about overdoses. And we work very closely with the recovery community, and many of these things we didn't even know. We thought it would be helpful to share, particularly tonight, as it's International Overdose Awareness Day, to educate and share. So there are many myths, and with these, it's important to remember that an overdose is a process. An individual's organs do not just immediately shut down or stop working, but here are some really quick myths, and we have more on the table outside, but I won't overdose because I use prescription opioids. This is false. The brain cannot tell the difference between prescription and non-prescription. The likelihood of overdosing does not change. If someone is overdosing, put them into a cold shower. Again, this is false. If someone is overdosing, they have no business being put into a shower. By putting them in a shower, you're reducing their core body temperature, accelerating their rate of overdose, as well as making a person who's already in an emergency situation slippery and wet, and it's just dangerous. Lastly, if someone is overdosing on an opioid, you should give them an upper, so a stimulant, coffee, caffeine, etc., to offset the overdose. Also, this is false. Rather than offsetting or canceling the overdose, you're putting them further along, actually, in the overdose. In an opioid overdose, the individual is in respiratory arrest. When someone is given a stimulant, their heart rate increases. So you've essentially increased the heart rate of a person who is unable to breathe, making the situation much worse. So those are just a few. Again, we have some flyers out there, but we felt like it was really important just to get some education out here as well tonight. And lastly, before we get back to our speakers, I'm going to give a quick plug, a save the date, an important upcoming event that we have. We're hosting with the Brockton Area Opioid Abuse Prevention Collaborative. We're hosting something called the Sim Lab at Walgreens right here in Rockland. It's on September 16th. From 12 to 3 p.m., there are flyers out there. And during this time, we actually create a mock overdose situation to help people understand how to use Narcan in an emergency, what to do, what not to do. We have a private space for people to go to if they want to discuss anything private, if you're having any concerns about anything, get advice, etc. And we'll have some free swag. So why not come out? So I would now like to introduce our next speaker. Eddie McGrath struggled with his addiction for many years, but he has been in recovery and has even started the new recovery house here in Rockland. So please join me in welcoming Eddie.
How's everybody doing tonight? My name's Eddie McGrath. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. I'd first like to thank Lindsay Woods, Tricia, the rest of Rockland CARES, the guys from the Rockland Recovery House, and everybody else who helped put this vigil on tonight. This is a great cause and what a great outcome. I would also like to thank my beautiful wife, Kelly, and my 3 beautiful kids, Colin, Ari, and Nellie, for the continuous support and to give me the motivation every day to do this work to stay sober. Not only have I struggled with addiction for many, many years, but alcoholism and drug addiction runs rampant throughout my family. I've seen both sides of this. I've lost a sister, I've lost a cousin, both to heroin overdoses. I've also lost a stepmother and a father to this deadly disease. So I take my recovery very serious, and I'm very passionate about it. Because as you guys know, this is life or death. It wasn't until I was introduced to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous where I started taking responsibility for my actions. It also wasn't until I was introduced to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous where I realized drugs and alcohol really weren't my problem, but I was the problem. I had to, in order for me to get better, I had to change my thinking. And in order to change my thinking, I had to work the 12 steps. I am now coming up on 5 years of continuous sobriety this November 11th. Thank you. Yeah, this November 11th, which is also my oldest kid's, my son Colin, his birthday. It will be his 7th birthday. So I'm very grateful to be able to stand up here tonight and to tell you guys, as long as I continue to do this work, that none of my kids will ever know their father as an active drug addict or alcoholic. I've used many excuses throughout the years of my using and drinking. I've blamed different family situations. I blamed different family members. But that was all false. The truth is, in the beginning, I drank and I did drugs because I liked the effect that alcohol and drugs have on my body. And it was nobody else's fault but myself. So if any of you guys have loved ones who are struggling with addiction and you're blaming yourselves, take it from me. You have nothing to do with it. My good friend, Mitch Conley, and myself have been very fortunate to be able to open a 12-step structured sober house right here in Rockland, Massachusetts. It's called Rockland Recovery. And at Rockland Recovery, we hold all the guys accountable for their actions. They all have to actively be working the 12 steps and making a positive progression change in their recovery. Mitch and I wanted to give guys the same opportunity that we had in order to get well. So we are trying to make a positive impact on this horrible epidemic, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to help. If anybody needs any help, please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, and I just have to give a shout out to all the guys at the Recovery House. They've come to some of our meetings. They helped make the beautiful signs that you saw out there, and they've helped us set up, and they've been awesome. Recovery happens every day. So next up, we have a special guest singer and musician who has never played at our vigil before. Jeff Gardner was raised and lives in Rockland. Jeff started writing a song inspired by his brother Mike's struggle with addiction. This past April, Mike lost his battle. Jeff finished his song, and he's sharing it tonight with all of us. So please give a warm welcome to Jeff.
All right, thanks everyone for coming. This is a little different than playing in front of my dog. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Life isn't easy, might not ever be. Fighting these demons inside of me. Struggling day to day, night by night. praying to God it isn't my time. Well, I ain't gonna quit, I ain't giving in to all of these demons I'm fighting within. Well, I'm gonna do the best that I can. No, I ain't giving in. It's hard to stay up when they're pulling you down. You dust yourself off, there's no one around. And nobody knows what it's like to be you. Nobody knows the things you've been through. Well, I ain't gonna quit, I ain't giving in to all of these demons I'm fighting within. Well, I'm gonna do the best that I can. No, giving in. I ain't giving in. Blood pressure rises, your hands start to shake. Skin starts to crawl with every breath that you take. Just one more time, yeah, that's all that this is. Just one more time, should it end up like this? Well, I ain't gonna quit, and I ain't giving in to all of these demons I'm fighting within. Well, I'm gonna do the best that I can. Oh, I ain't gonna quit, I ain't giving in to all of these demons I'm fighting within. Well, I'm gonna do the best that I can. And I ain't giving in. No, 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 no. No, I ain't giving in. No, 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 no.
Thank you.
One more round of applause. That's not easy. Okay, we have one more speaker before our video and our candle lighting. Our last speaker of the night may be familiar to some of you. One reason being she was raised in Rockland and continues to raise her family in Rockland. But another reason is because she spoke at last year's Vigil. When Liz Malloy Mastis spoke last year, she spoke of her brother's struggle on the road to recovery. 211 days later, her brother Kenny passed away. Liz told me that's really important for her to speak tonight to show that there is still hope in Kenny's story. So please welcome Liz.
Sorry, I think I took the long way. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Rockland CARES, for organizing such a worthy event. Bear with me. So last year, I was fortunate enough to stand before this community and share my perspective on the sibling stigma on addiction. I stood at the podium at Holy Family Church, and I spoke as the closing speaker. And 211 days later, I stood at that same podium, and I eulogized my big brother and my only sibling, Kenny Malloy. My big brother lost his battle with addiction on March 24th, and it struck my soul in a way I never knew possible. During the haze of my grief, my heart just kept coming back to my speech, and I was asked to speak last because my story gave people hope. As Kenny was alive and well at the time, so now what? Since Kenny lost his battle, would the community think that addiction is hopeless? Like I said last year, I will never choose to hide under a rock of the stigma, and here I am to tell you that although my loving brother is no longer here battling his disease, my hope did not die with him, and neither should yours. Something that I did not mention when I spoke last year is that addiction is stealing my family. Along with Kenny, we have also lost my two beautiful cousins, Kelly and Tina. My aunt buried 2 of her 4 children. My grandmother has outlived 3 of her grandchildren. How unnatural. It is difficult to wonder if there was something I could have done differently or better. How could my family suffer such loss to addiction? But we did, we have, and we have banded together in hopes of making the best of what we have left in time. Because after all, when I see my brother and my cousins again, I will be the best version of myself that I can possibly be. Kenny was much more than an addict, and I'm more than the sister of an addict. And my hope is that as human beings, we see that. We see the struggling person, and we extend our hope. Because just as hope is getting me through my grief, that same hope may help somebody else who's struggling get through theirs. I often think about what the end was like for my brother, and those thoughts for me are very realistic and disturbing. What helps me work through those thoughts is hope. Hope that Kenny felt the peace he was searching for and the freedom he deserved. Tomorrow marks the 23rd week of getting that call. Exactly 23 Fridays ago, I answered a panic call from my mom, letting me know that Kenny was gone. 23 Fridays ago, my perspective shifted and hope took over. With my family, we're embarking on our first year without Kenny. Some days it feels impossible to continue living without my first friend. Some days his struggle inspires me. And there are other days I just have to block it out of my thoughts. While we embark on this painful journey, what keeps me putting one foot in front of the other is hope. I hope that my brother can look down on me and be proud of my voice. Hope can come in many forms. Hope can be results. Hope can be experience. And hope can be that random Facebook message. How do I put into words what hope looks like when your heart is broken? Well, I don't really have to, because look around. It is this. It is you guys. It is the opportunity to stand here before you, surrounded by folks who support ending the stigma. That is my hope. Thank you. Hi, buddy. Thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to share our story. This is our reality. This is the reality of many of my classmates and neighbors, the reality of my generation and the next. My family's reality, and this is my family's hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we watch our memorial video and light our candles, I would like to invite Reverend Sarah Brockman from Trinity Church to lead us in our closing prayer.
It's really wonderful to see so many people out here tonight. I was sitting in front so I couldn't see, and now I can, and this is really wonderful. I see people I know. So I invite you now to take an attitude of prayer in your hearts and minds as I lead us in a final prayer. Holy God, we know you in so many different names and in so many different shapes and forms, but you created each and every one of us in love and in hope to do your work in the world, to be a part of you in the world. As we go out into the night and light candles for those whom we love but see no longer, and for the hope that we hold in our hearts, please fill us with patience, perseverance, courage, and the hope that you are and will be with us every step of the way. Thank you for being with us here and for bringing us together as a community. Thank you for Rockland CARES, and for all the people that support those suffering from addiction. And we ask you to save those whom you can and help us to save them with you. Amen.
Thank you. Each year for our vigil, we offer the opportunity for families to provide a photo of their loved ones who've passed away from this disease to include in our video. Sadly, the video continues to grow and it becomes longer each year. This video is incredibly sad, yes. But most importantly, it really represents that every single person in this video will not be forgotten. Thank you to all of the families for sharing your loved ones with us.